So now I am truly pleased to get to welcome Senator Patty Murray to the stage. Patty is one of our true environmental heroes here in Washington. She started her political career as the mom in tennis shoes, fighting for kids in schools at the state senate in Olympia. And then in 1992, she took that fight to Washington, D.C. And since then, she has been fighting for what matters most to Washingtonians. She is the highest ranking woman in the U.S. Senate, and I know we are all extremely pleased and proud to call Patty our senator. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Senator Patty Murray.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Julie, thank you for that kind introduction. Woman has to be at the top of this place, keeping in charge. Just remember that through this election. Well, what a great way to start the day, surrounded by hundreds of champions of this great, beautiful state. It really is an honor to be here with all of you today. And the timing could not be more important. We are in the midst of a mind-boggling presidential election where one candidate, you know who among a lot of other stuff, continues to question whether climate change is even real. Well, yes, Donald, climate change is real and it needs to be addressed now. We are already seeing the effects of it here on the West Coast, from more extreme wildfire seasons to ocean acidification. It is one of the most pressing issues of our generation, and I am proud to keep up the fight on behalf of all of you in the U.S. Senate to make sure we keep our eye on the ball. Our country needs to be a leader, and it starts with making sure we move forward on the Paris Climate Change Agreement, which is the least we should be doing to make headway. But D.C. can't, you can applaud that. But as you know, D.C. can't tackle climate change all alone, and that's why I am so glad that we have environmental champions like Governor Inslee, who is such a great leader on this issue. Our children and their children need him in Olympia for another 4 years so he can continue his great work preserving and protecting our environment, showing the rest of the nation what real environmental leadership looks like. And Governor Inslee needs the support of Democrats in the state legislature who understand we have a responsibility to leave a healthier planet for future generations. I want to emphasize that idea, that commitment to fight on behalf of our kids and our grandkids, because that is what drives me every single day in that other Washington. That's why when some members of Congress try to shortchange our effort to continue to clean up Puget Sound, I fight back. These waters are part of our past, our present, and most certainly our future. And I believe we have come too far and fought too hard to let short-sighted politicians in D.C. who are looking to save a buck and crow about it on the cable news to roll back years of progress here in the Northwest. The same goes for protecting salmon, which is an icon of this region and so integral to Native American culture. We have to fight every year to make sure we have the resources necessary for critical restoration programs. And at the same time, we need to make sure that the federal agencies continue to respect the treaty-protected rights of our tribal nations. That takes vigilance, and it takes hard work, and it takes teamwork, and that's where all of you come in. Not too long ago, when the Army Corps was reviewing the Cherry Point coal terminal application, I stayed in close contact with Chairman Ballou, who's here today. And I reminded the Corps on a number of occasions it had a responsibility to give the Lummi Nation a fair and expedient determination if their treaty rights would be negatively impacted. When politicians from Montana continuously tried to sneak in riders into legislation that would have impacted the Lummi's treaty rights, with the support of many of you, I fought them off every single time. I was proud to help make sure the process was fair with respect to the Lummi's treaty rights. It's on all of us to make sure we look out for our way of life here in the Pacific Northwest. And here in Washington State, we know preserving and protecting our special places is great for our economy. Whether you're climbing Mount Rainier or boating on Lake Chelan or fishing in the Yakima River, our state shows the rest of the country every day that protecting our special places is more than worth its weight in gold. And I know many of you had that in mind when we worked so hard and finally passed in 2008 the Wild Sky Wilderness Act, the first new wilderness in our state in 20 years. Or the Alpine Lakes Wilderness Additions in 2014, when together we expanded the wilderness areas by 22,000 acres and protected a combined 40 miles of our rivers. That was amazing teamwork. Give yourselves a round of applause. We got to celebrate a huge victory in our conservation efforts, but to me what was so wonderful about that victory was we didn't consider our work to be over. We didn't call it a day and say we're done. Instead, we went bigger. And right now, Derek Kilmer and I have partnered on legislation in the House and in the Senate that would protect the most environmentally sensitive parts of our Olympic National Forest. Our Wild Olympics bill will designate nearly 127,000 acres of existing federal land as wilderness, and it will classify nearly 500 river miles across 19 rivers and major tributaries on the Olympic Peninsula as wild and scenic rivers. Now, we didn't do that easily. We worked with the local community, from small business owners to landowners to our tribes, to craft legislation that met the standard that so many of us in the Pacific Northwest strive for. And we're going to work every day to get that done. This collaboration and this commitment to protecting our natural resources is what makes our state so great and makes me so proud to be born and raised here and watching my grandkids now start to grow up here. You know, a lot of people I meet in DC are surprised to hear that I spend as many hours traveling as I do so that I can come home here every single weekend. And I ask them, have you been to the Northwest? Where else would I want to be? And while I do appreciate the scenery, it's not just the natural beauty of our state that keeps me coming home. It's working with people like all of you here in this room who are so passionate about preserving the many, many special places so dear to our state. So thank you all so much for your support. I'm so proud to be your voice in the United States Senate, and I look forward to working with all of you to get a lot more done. Thank you.